Thank you all for coming tonight. My name is Sandy Golding, and I'm president of Beaches Watch. For those of you who don't know about Beaches Watch, we are a nonprofit citizens organization here at the beach, also nonpartisan. And we have been around for 11 years now. We host these meetings once a month to have speakers talk about issues that are of importance to our beaches communities. And our mission is to educate and engage people in the issues and decisions that are being made at our beaches that affect our quality of life. So we have a really good meeting tonight. We're really thrilled to be here at the chapel. This is the second time we've had the pleasure of having a meeting here at the chapel. We want to thank Chris Hoffman, who's the ED with the Beaches Museum and History Park, for allowing us to be here tonight. She's actually one of our speakers, and so we look forward to hearing what Chris has to say. I also, before we get started, want to recognize the elected officials that we have in the audience tonight. We do have Keith Doherty, who's with City of Jacksonville Beach. And I believe that's and Chris Hoffman, I'm sorry. She's also City of Jacksonville Beach. I'm just thinking Museum History Park. Yeah. Sorry, Chris. And then we also have City Manager George Forbes, who's here tonight from City of Jacksonville Beach. Okay, and do we have anybody else? Sally, I see you waving at me. Oh, okay, so we have a candidate here tonight, and who do we have tonight?
My name is Jacoby Pittman.
Okay.
I'm running for City Council at Large, and I'm the CEO and president of the Thyroid Mission in town.
Thank you. We're glad to have you here. So Jacoby Pittman is here tonight. I hope everybody picked up an agenda when you came in tonight. The agenda has some information in it that we hope you'll take home with you. On the back, it has contact information for all the elected officials in Atlantic Beach, Jacks Beach, Neptune Beach, as well as the school board, our Jacksonville City Council representative, Mr. Gulliford, our state representative, Janet Atkins, and our Congressman, Andrew Crenshaw. So if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, you can use this as a resource to contact those people. Also, a few things I want to mention. We are videotaping the meeting tonight, and we'll post it on our YouTube page, and you can look on the agenda for the location of that page, and also on our website. And then there's several things we want to call to mind. There is the Matanzas Riverkeeper asked that we put this on our agenda tonight to make everyone aware that there is a March for Ocean Justice on Saturday, March 7th. And this has to do with an issue that went before the Jacks Beach City Council on Monday night regarding seismic testing. So anyway, it's going to be Saturday at 11:30 a.m. in St. Augustine. So wanted to make you aware of that. Also, there's a dredging town hall meeting at UNF on Monday, March 9th at 6 p.m. This should be a really good meeting. All the stakeholders that have any involvement in the dredging issue will be there to answer questions. It's not they're not going to be doing any presentations. It'll be an opportunity for the community to go and ask questions and get as much information about the issue as possible. Georgette, do you have anything else? I think Georgette is going to moderate the town hall. Do you have anything you'd like to add? Okay. Also, for those of you who have been under a rock and you haven't seen any of the commercials, there is an election coming up on March 24th. It's Jacksonville's first election, and early voting starts March 9th, which is why we're not in the library tonight, because the library is in the process of preparing for early voting. The early voting is March 9th through the 22nd at the Beaches Branch Library, and we hope that you will learn about the candidates that the beaches will be voting on at-large candidates, as well as a lot of the other positions such as mayor, sheriff, and many others. But Beaches Watch sent a questionnaire to the at-large candidates and to the mayor candidates and the sheriff candidates. And we will be holding candidate forums in April for the mayor and sheriff candidates that have made it past the March 24th election. And then we'll also have another candidate forum for the at-large candidates prior to the general election in May. The responses to the questionnaires have been posted on the Beaches Watch website, so we hope that you'll go to the website and read what the candidates had to say in response to the questions. The questions were about issues that Beaches citizens are interested in, and also wanting to know, what do the Jacksonville candidates think about the Beaches issues and what would they do about the Beaches issues. So we do hope that you'll do that before you vote. And I think you'll find it rather interesting because some candidates did not respond to the questionnaire. So then also want to make you aware that the Florida legislative session has started. There's some information on the agenda here so you can track and keep up with the issues that are happening in Tallahassee that may have an effect on us here at the beach. And then also one other thing, just want to ask you to save the date. April 1st is going to be our member social. It's our yearly member social. We are in the process of finalizing the location, so we don't have that for you at this time, but stay tuned. We will make sure that we get that out to you because we hope you'll join us. And we'll also be doing the Friend of the Beaches presentation at the member social as well. So it should be a really good event. We hope you'll join us. And I would like to mention before we move to the speakers that our Jacksonville City Councilman Bill Gulliver just came in. So we're glad to have him here as well. Okay, so tonight we have 3 topics. We have Chris Hoffman, who's going to give us an update on the Beaches Museum and History Park. And then we have 3 young people from Fletcher High School who are going to give us an update on a Sea Oats project that they are working on with their teacher, Coach Brown. Unfortunately, Coach Brown had a death in the family and could not be here tonight. We're very sorry about that, and I'll send our sympathies to his family, but we're glad that his students, he's got them well prepared, and they're gonna be second on our presentation list tonight. We have Noah Bosco, Marie Pettit, and Jacob Orender, who will be doing the presentation for us. And then last but not least, we have Curtis Loftus, who will be giving us an update on Deck the Chairs. He'll be telling us about how the 2014 Deck the Chairs went and some exciting plans for 2015. So I'd like to turn over the microphone to Chris Hoffman so she can give us an update on the Museum and History Park. Thank you.
This is not going to be a history lecture. Does anybody want a history lecture? And I have it on good authority that Keith came here to heckle me, and George probably did too, so if anyone can sit next to him and just pinch them if they get out of hand. So welcome to the Beaches Museum Chapel. Is this anyone's first time in the chapel?
Yes.
Is it really, Tom?
Yes. It was a mile from my house. I never went in.
Welcome. And anyone's first time to the Beaches Museum and History Park at all? Oh, already worth my time. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here. We're glad to have you. We're always glad to partner with organizations like Beaches Watch to utilize some of our historic buildings in the museum building. And just first by way of a little bit of housekeeping, we do have bathrooms, not in the chapel, but across the way in the foreman's house. If you do feel the need, just walk across the dark lawn into that old 1900 house and find the bathroom. They're not the original bathrooms, so I can assure you. So, Beaches Museum and History Park, I've been the executive director now for 8 months. I really can't believe it. And it took me 8 months to figure out how to use the clicker. And it worked. So you're already here, so you know the Beaches Museum is down at the other end of the park, the big yellow building, and a lot of people know us for the train. Anybody rung the bell on the train? That's a really important question. The Beaches Area Historical Society is the organization that operates the Beaches Museum museum, and it was founded in 1978 by a group of people interested in preserving Beach's heritage. And I think that Beach's Watch members can really relate to that effort. They started off by collecting just items and artifacts and photos and things like that from the beach. And pretty soon in the 80s, so close, they actually started collecting buildings. So all of the buildings that are in the park are from the early 1900s, except this one, including the Mayport Train Depot, the section foreman's house where the bathroom is located, and the post office. In 2006, the museum building was built, and actually this history park is City of Jacksonville Beach property. I'm sure George would want me to mention that, that we lease from them to maintain the historic park. All of these buildings are open for tours, so anyone can come in and we have docents that will take you through them. They're restored to what they would have been when they were in use. 2012, does anybody remember this chapel? Can you imagine this chapel was on the back of a truck driving down 3rd Street? This is actually its fourth location, and hopefully its final location. The chapel was built in 1887. You can see its original location and the original structure. And if you look at it on the right, that's how it looks now. It's actually a lot longer. And if you look down on the floorboards, you can see where the wood changed. Basically, they just sawed the facade of the chapel off, moved it back, and then kind of built the rest of the chapel in when they needed to make it bigger. So we're really excited to have this chapel move not only to Jacksonville Beach, but here to the History Park. It is a really important part of our history and a great place for events like this, as well as weddings, concerts, which we'll talk about in a second.
Where was its original location?
It was originally located around 2nd and 2nd. The Murray Hall Hotel was where the lifeguard station is, and so the people who came to visit the Murray Hall Hotel actually pulled some money, about $800, got you this chapel. So they built it so they would have a place to worship. And then the Murray Hall Hotel burned down, as did many wooden hotels at the time that had fireplaces in every room. In the big yellow building, if you haven't been there, we have a permanent exhibit that is a walk down the boardwalk of Beach's history, as well as a temporary exhibit that we switch between history and art exhibits, and I'll tell you a little bit more about those. Upstairs, where a lot of people don't get to go, but if you call me, I'll take you up there special. We have what I like to call the Smithsonian of the Beaches in our collections and archives. And in our collections room, it's all items. We have everything from old Fletcher cheerleader megaphones to old bathing suits, shoes, flapper hats, World War II jackets. I mean, it's really an incredible collection that we can never possibly have enough space to display all of. We have newspapers, we have organizational histories, and over 20,000 photos. And that's one of the most popular things that we do. The cars on the beach are always very popular photos, and the pinup girls obviously are quite popular as well. So of all of those photos, we have thousands of them that you can go on to our website and look at, but you can also always come into the museum and take a look. And you'll see our historic photos in a lot of places. City Hall, some of our restaurants, the Pier, Jackson Social. Also, people buy them for their home, get them enlarged and framed to have a piece of Jacksonville history or Beach's history in your house. I mentioned the exhibits that change between history and art. Right now we have the history of Palm Valley. And if you think the beaches is interesting, you really need to dig into Palm Valley because it was quite a place, still is. It's called Palmetto's Piers and Pioneers, and it was done by a committee of people who are from Palm Valley. And we have the control panel from the old drawbridge that was out there. We have the deputy sheriff's badge, and we have more taxidermied animals than you can imagine. Quite a few good moonshine stories, which was one of Palm Valley's big industries. But it's a great exhibit, and it's actually going to be up through April 22nd, so I invite you to come out and take a look at that. And then the next exhibit after that, we're going to switch back to art. So we have Enrique Mora, who's a world-renowned artist that lives right here in the beaches, coming to exhibit starting in April. And then I mentioned concerts. Right here in this chapel, we have a really committed group of volunteers, including Sam Beal, who a lot of you may know from Spring in the Blues. And they bring in musicians that may never even make it to Jacksonville Beach or even Jacksonville, but maybe they're on their way down to a bigger city or on their way back. And we grab them and bring them in here for a really intimate concert. Just one of our performers used to be the keyboardist of the Grateful Dead, so if that tells you anything about who we can get in here. And it's everything from blues to jazz to rock. Our next concert is on March 19th, and that's going to be Tim and Miles Thompson, who are guitar players. They're going to be great. It's actually a repeat from our first concert last year when we started this. Fletcher, All Pass Block Party, any fellow Fletcher grads in here? One. All right, I'm talking to you. We have annually a block party to celebrate the Beaches High School. You don't have to be a Fletcher graduate to come. I know Janelle Wilson comes to it every year. This is going to be on May 30th, and it's right out here in the park, and it's a lot of fun. And then our big annual fundraiser is Beach Legends, where we honor selected individuals who are making tomorrow's beaches history today. And then this is a fun one. So last year we had our first annual Beaches Art Fest, really trying to envision this whole area as kind of an arts and culture district for the beaches. So you've got the museum, you've got the history park, you've got a beautiful Faber Gray building, Cypress Recording Studios, Players by the Sea. Haven't quite figured out how Pet Supermarket works into this equation. Big yellow sign. But last year we closed off the roads and we had about 80 artists, and they were fine art artists, and they were really of really high quality, and we had about 3,000 people come out to take advantage of this art festival. You can see this year we've got a little edgier with our poster. That is a Mark Durham original, who you may recognize, a local artist. That is also a possum on his surfboard. You can't question the artist, though. They don't like when you do that. But look out for that one April 3rd. The weather was amazing last year, so we're hoping for the same this year, and it's a lot of fun. So, if you're interested in getting involved, come to the museum, use the museum, member socials, things like that. Those are always things we can entertain here. Join as a membership, volunteer, sponsor, come to our special events, or volunteer for special projects. And we are a very membership-driven organization. We do receive money from the Cultural Council of Greater Jacksonville. That's really our biggest source of city funding, or our only source of city funding. The next big thing that's coming, I mentioned the bathrooms earlier. We're going to bring a cabin in that's going to have bathrooms. We're going to put bathrooms in it. The Oestreicher McCormick Homestead was built in 1873 out on 20 Mile, which is very quickly becoming Nocatee. So this house is in danger of being torn down if we were not able to save it. I'm really proud to announce that we have hit our fundraising goal. And we received a match from the Davis Family Foundation to allow us to have enough money to not only get it ready, because that's a huge process, it's been there since 1873, but put it up on a truck and bring it down here and refurbish it. And it's going to be right up here. As you walk out tonight, you'll see to your right some stakes and flags denoting where it's going to be going. This is actually what it looks like right now. This is the original family that lived there. Interestingly enough, up in the shadows on the left-hand side is B.B. McCormick, who you may recognize his name. He's one of the people who helped really build our community. And he was married to the lady diagonal in front of him, and then when she passed away, he married her sister 2 people down. So I guess that happened a lot back then. I'm gonna judge. And then this was a hunt party. So Palm Valley was a very rugged lifestyle, a lot of hunting, trapping. Palm fronds, one of the big industries, was cutting and selling palm fronds to religious groups for Palm Sunday and other things. This is where it is. So if you're going down into Palm Valley, you see Crosswater Parkway, and then you turn off onto this really awful construction dirt road. Apparently there's already paved roads and curbs in there now. This was just about 2 months ago. And this is, as a lot of you might know, Mike Kaufman. He was out there doing some video of some of the family members who were descendants of the builders of this house. And this is getting ready. This was a newspaper. When they did some additions to the house, they used newspaper as insulation. So this is a newspaper from 1904. Held up. I don't know if it was the beaches later or not. But. And these are the cedar roof planks. And that's the foundation. Really solid. George has his hand on his head like, why am I letting you bring this into Jacksonville? It's going to be great, George. We're not going to use that same foundation. And that's just the side view. And then that's just a schematic of the work. So I'm not sure how far into my time I went. Any questions on the Beaches Museum?
Well, let's do the questions.
Oh, okay.
If you, and
No problem. Thank you all. Thank you for your time. And thank you for coming up.
Okay, so now I'd like to introduce our students from Fletcher High School. We have Noah Bosco, Marie Pettit, and Jacob Orender, and I don't know what order you guys want to go in, so. Tag team, okay. All right.
Just kidding.
Okay, first of all, hello. I'm Noah Bosco, this is Marie Pettit, and Jacob Orender. We're all from Fletcher High School. We are in Coach Brown's ACE Environmental Management class, and we are part of the Dune Restoration Project that is working to restore the dunes and help put more COs, don't laugh at me, put more COs so that the dunes will be more stable. First of all, we'd like to thank Sandy and Beach Watch for allowing us to present, and also Councilman Jolly for his contribution of COs. So first, are you going to start, Marie?
I would love to. Okay, I just have a quick question. How many of you are actually originally from Neptune, Jacksonville, Atlantic Beach? All right, nice. I'm just curious if you guys actually remember far back as this. Our dunes weren't as great as they are really right now.
What dunes?
Exactly. So here's the beach in the 1960s and the 1970s, and as you can tell, not only is it in black and white, but it's not the same as it is right now. We are really lucky to be living in Jacksonville Beach. Some of us don't even realize how great it is, and more people are working towards fixing the beaches and putting more money and attention towards it. So.
The Dune Restoration Project first started in the 1960s following Hurricane Dora, when the shore got extreme amounts of damage. The Dune Restoration Project is a 10-mile stretch of land starting from the jetties going all the way to St. Johns County. And the restoration project it was started by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and it's just a project where we can make our beach look better and restore the beach to how it should be looking, so it's a nice tourist attraction and we can all enjoy it. And where are you back?
You went back to that one? So this is a profile of Neptune Beach, and what most people don't realize is that the beach is really important because it pushes the sand towards the dunes, and that helps replenish the dunes. And the dunes are really important because it's filled with COs, which helps hold sediment in place. But also, we didn't always have such protection on the dunes. I'm sure if you notice now, if you go to the beach, you can always see those signs that will say, if you disrupt the dune, you have to pay a $500 fine. That wasn't always there, and we're really lucky that we do have that, and people do pay attention to it more. But the beach itself, it helps the reduction of wave action because it's a breakwater, and it also helps to resist erosion. And when like storm surges occur, it helps to protect the residential areas, which is important because not only do we live here, but it's taxable property. Okay, this is an example of the crest, which is very highly dense, and as you can see, there's not really many sparse areas, which is really the goal because we really want a highly dense and healthy dune.
And this is just a little about the anatomy of the dune. Where the dune meets the rest of the beach is called the foredune, where the dune initially starts. And as Marie just said, the crest is at the top of the foredune. And as you can see, if this will work, there we go. There's a back dune. And if you go to the beach, many of you will notice you walk over a little dune, you go through, and you can see from side to side the trough in between the foredune and the back dune. This trough is where we want the sand to be captured. See, this is an example of a real low density area where there's not a lot of vegetation. We want to inhabit this with a lot of vegetation such as railroad vine, croton, cacti, and of course sea oats, so that they will hold down the sand so that the sedimentation and erosion won't take place. The ultimate goal is for the trough to be filled up so that it is all one big dune protecting our beach community and our houses. So overall, it's very important that the dune will fill in. But after 30 years of having a dune system, this is how far we've come with having a foredune and a back dune. So over time, gradually, it will fill up to being one giant dune.
Here's an example of medium density. As you can tell, there are areas where there's a lot of sea oats, but then again, there are areas where it's not. This is an example of low density. As you can see, there's a lack of vegetation which we need to fill. That's low density. One of the many projects we do with the Marine Coastal Beach Club and Coach Brown is we go out in the field and do research on our own. With the group, we took a quadrant of PVC pipe and tested the concentration of sea oats, of sprigs in the area. And this is just a few city blocks. We actually did all of Neptune Beach, going to Seagate all the way down. And here's what, as you see, as like sample 1, we have 18 sprigs per the unit area, and that's relatively low, as the area needs 10 more. And that's just an example of all that we have. From Meyer to Oleander, it's more of a higher density. So basically, when we walk through, we already have pinpoint locations of where we need more sprigs and sea oats to be planted. Yeah, this is exactly what we did. Basically counted the sprigs per area and documented it. It was rather meticulous, but it was fun. There's more pictures. Coach Brown. Yeah. That includes, and basically, one might ask, how do you plant a sea oat? And ideally, they like to be 18 inches apart. You grab a spade or shovel, 4 to 6 inches deep, fill the hole with some low-intensity fertilizer, and just a water bottle. That's really all you need. The most essential part is with these seedlings, they are rather fragile, so to mark it with a flag or some caution tape so it doesn't get stepped on is pretty much the most important thing. That's what we intend to do. And also, April is the most ideal time to plant these because of the high rain season, which is coming up in the summer.
In addition, Coach Brown wanted me to extend an invitation. On March 24th, we are having a symposium. I've mentioned that we are part of the ACE Environmental Management class. We all have to do a science project for that class, which most of us are centered around water and dissolved oxygen and things around the beach and sediment. So we will be having that at Fletcher High School in A Hall on the 24th at 6 p.m. And we would love to have you guys come and look at our projects that we've been working so hard on. Anything else?
No. Thank you guys.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. We want you to stick around because there may be some questions for you. And now we'd like to introduce Curtis Loftus, who is the founder, the visionary, and the guy who made Deck the Chairs such a great event, and he's going to give us an update on that as well.
And the one right.
Hello, everyone. First, yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you, Beaches Watch, for hosting this event tonight. I got to say, I'm so encouraged by these young students. As a grandfather, when you see, your young talent, young knowledge, able to present like they did, that's really encouraging. So, anyways, here's what will be two presentations. This first one, I'll try to move through these slides quickly. This first one's basically the overview of 2014 Deck the Chairs. Did everyone get the Deck the Chairs? Anyone? Pretty much? All right, let's see if this works. So Deck the Chairs was in 2013 established to fill a void in the Jacksonville Beach winter holiday experience. It was inspired by the iconic features and sustaining presence of the historic volunteer lifeguard chairs. So the idea was born to decorate and display the chairs in downtown Jacksonville Beach at spacious Latham Plaza. The Deck the Chairs sponsored Decorate program generated awareness for local business and organizations while raising funds to support the volunteer lifeguards who have served the area for over 100 years. And again, that's just some incredible history about the beach that I didn't find out until 5 years ago, but our lifeguards are very special to us. This is our mayor, Santa. I pulled a nice quote from our mayor regarding Deck the Chairs. So here's our mission: to build community pride and strengthen local economy while fostering the arts and public safety through a lighted lifeguard chair display. And this mission has taken me a while to sort of, and the board to sort of formalize, because when we created the event, when I sort of came up with this concept in 2013, a lot of energy and focus was on the lifeguards, but the whole time I knew after living here 30 years, just saw this community that just was missing Christmas. And so there were a lot of reasons that this now mission statement exists the way it does, but I think every piece of it fits. It really does define what Deck the Chairs is about. We have a vision. We want to grow a valued regional destination experience celebrated through diverse collaboration of public-private energy. We took some amazing pictures last year. There were probably 4 or 5 photographers out shooting for us, and it just, when I look through the pictures to try to select the ones to share with you guys, I'm telling you, we got so many. Oops, sorry. So this is basically 2013. Deck the Chairs was launched in Jackson Beach Latham Plaza. We had 18 participating businesses and nonprofits, chair decorated sponsors. Through broad public support, the event successfully ignited and renewed the holiday spirit and brought some funds to the volunteer lifeguards. And we had a check that year for about, I think it was $1,800. Oops, sorry. So here's some highlights from 2014. Deck the Chairs, we established ourselves as a nonprofit. We began implementing plans that my agency, the Curtis Group, put together very early in the year. I mean, we closed last year, closed 2013, and I immediately started working on 2014. And by February, March, we already had some of these goals. We wanted to expand the downtown event space space, we wanted to double the number of sponsors and participants, and we wanted to create some things that would be iconic, meaningful, lasting, parts of Deck the Chair. So one of them was a Christmas tree, the other was some specific signage and programming. So in March, I was able to share with Jacksonville Beach this overall program, and the council, the city embraced it. This was another really amazing part of the whole process for me, just as a resident of Jacks Beach and someone that's run a business here. It's one thing to create a concept and even, build a program, but to see how the city reacted to it, I was blown away by it, and I just can't say enough about our city and the management and just the council in general. So they approved $17,000. They actually approved a bigger budget, but we got $17,000, and we had it specific for capital stuff. We wanted to build a tree, we wanted to get some signs made. We had specifics for them, and they looked at it and approved it. So our event, we knew, would probably grow to be about a $70,000 event, or in terms of revenue that we needed to bring in and stuff that would take place in order to build all the stuff we wanted to build. What I did as an agency, you have to understand, someone's got to put some time into this thing to run it, and so I knew I was going to be committing my agency and my time through the year on a project that potentially was going to be, and it really did work out to be somewhere around the neighborhood of 800 to 900 hours of time over the course of a year to build this thing. So we committed about 9 months of development, marketing efforts, with about 6 of it in kind, just to make sure this thing worked. That would be October. We announced community partnerships, including 14 nonprofit organizations and 24 local businesses that were part of Deck the Chair. So we actually did achieve doubling the size of Deck the Chairs. We also reached 100% of our fundraising goal and successfully launched the final phase, which we were building permanent displays. We started building permanent displays in April with a company called Artistic Contractors. So we also developed some programming, 2 events, Light the Beaches, which was held November 30th, where we turned on all the lights, and then Night of Music and Dance was on the 14th, and we brought about 5,000 plus visitors. I have to say, you're going to see some numbers here, and they're guesstimates. I mean, I tried my best to do some counts and be fair in what we were seeing, but we weren't hiring people, and we weren't doing the kind of, it was basically good guesstimates. So we also have a pretty good guesstimate that over 20,000 people over the course of November, or the end of November, December into January. We had 5 weeks in the Pavilion area and Plaza. So that's probably a conservative estimate again. So we got some recognition. We were recognized as North Florida Top 10 Holiday Event by Visit Jacksonville. We actually had, because of the, it's no longer the Gator Bowl, it's the Tax Slayer Bowl, but they come and those folks come out here and visit. We had some exposure in newspapers as far as Iowa, with their teams, so that was pretty cool. There's some wonderful, we collected a whole, must have collected 2-3 dozen, just testimonials from folks that came out and visited the event with their families and what it meant to them. Lots of just really inspiring testimonies from people. So we had 5 weeks. During that time, the Corps was out there, and they had what they call fill the buoy, and they were able to collect $1,500, which again is much needed for a lot of different things that the Corps does, including education, and they compete. They've got a lot of things that most of us don't know about, but anytime you're running an organization, you have needs, and so it was nice to see them be able to raise up that money. You're going to see us on the 18th. We're going to have a check for the Corps for $8,000, and what that essentially is $4,000 that was remaining in our account. Actually, we had talked to one of our favorite council members, and he he's got some money that he was willing to disperse that was left over from a campaign. Mr. Gollifer, thank you so much. Anyways, we were able to get a match, and so these guys are going to get a really nice check on March 18th, and we're going to be talking about some of the same stuff on the 18th that I'm talking about tonight. This is some cool stuff. I know we had over 300 Beaches residents directly participate in Deck the Chairs program and support all manner of people on the 14th doing stuff like Nancy Dance, and it's just the programming that night was extraordinary. If you were out there, you saw some really cool programming. And we also were able to pull about 11,500 in free media. We got another 82,300 in private donated goods and in-kind services. And you're going to see some charts and some information that will support that. But it was huge. When I really started to collect all the information from the relationships I had with these different businesses that really supported Deck the Chairs and what kind of support they gave us, it was really impressive. It's exciting. 65,000. This is another number you're going to see. All the money we took in, we spent basically. So everything went back to businesses here in Jax Beach, businesses in North Florida. Like when I say a media sponsor, what I'm doing is I'm buying local media, and we're paying for advertising. We're paying for representatives that work for the advertising companies. We're paying, for services that come from builders and people that do the design build side of it. So everything that we basically created had to get built or made or produced or shared or something, and it all went right back to our beach businesses. This is a small piece that I hope grows, but we created this idea that the tree didn't need to just be a regular Christmas tree, like something decorative. We wanted to turn it into a real kind of purposeful tree. So partnered with Beam and had an idea to create these buckets and let them fill the buckets with goods that the community, people that had need could benefit from. So we're hoping we can grow that concept as well. And of course I already mentioned this, but we had this huge kind of just support from brass. And those folks, that came out and played on the 14th, programming was amazing. And I can't say enough. So here's some pictures of the chairs. We had, as I said, 36 sponsors total. And they all built and designed and created and decorated. It was just beautiful to see the creativity. Beaches Watch is in the middle right there. Their chair, this was their second year with us. And I don't take it for granted that the nonprofits and even the for-profit, what this means or it's a lot of time, energy, and money. So when this happens, I'm still thinking about ways to definitely create more awareness, to think of ways to make sure that the benefit comes from Deck the Chairs to these local organizations and businesses. And here's I'll show our committee real quick. We have a crazy good committee of people. This was last year's committee, and I've never seen a more involved, more energetic group of people. It was just so much fun to work with them. And these are all of our sponsors. And again, the core. So I know, how much time did that take? 10 minutes, 15? Am I 15? Am I right, 15? All right. Well, I do have some wonderful pie charts, but that'll take too long, so I'll go ahead and hold with this one, and then come back and you'll see. As I said, the numbers and the amounts, it was a $70,000 event, essentially, in real money, of which most of it was all spent. And we built a lot of things. The city owns a lot of stuff now. And we promoted, I think, really well. The event is going to grow this year, but it's not going to grow substantially. What we do want to do this year is daytime. We're starting to really think about the daytime opportunity for Deck the Chairs. I mean, we really think that we can make that pavilion space and the plaza, both of those areas, such a wonderful, experience for families, kids, whoever's visiting, like, not just keep it a nighttime, visit. Like, make it something really special during the day as well. So we're looking at how we build our stuff or add to the stuff that exists, and then we want to, we do want to light it better at nighttime. There's some areas we want to improve the lighting and make it just a little bit more special this year. So thank you very much.
So we want to give you guys an opportunity to ask some questions because there's a lot of good information. So I'd like to ask the presenters to, if you would, to maybe come up here and you can share the microphone, and then we'll have people. If you have a question, please raise your hand. Do we have any questions? Anybody want to ask a question?
That was easy.
Well, I have a question, so I want to ask the students from Fletcher. So I know you got some money from Councilman Jolly in Neptune Beach, and so I want to know what is your plan? I know you're going to buy some, some COs, and then what's next?
Well, some of the money will go into other resources needed, such as shovels. And, Coach Brown actually brainstormed those little flags you see, like the pest control, just so we know to mark the area and other people know, not to step on the COs. That's pretty much what the money goes to. And as well as our plan is we already have the data of where there's low and high densities. So from there we measure 18 inches from the next CO and simply plant and test our growth from there.
Do you need volunteers to help with that?
We have a lot of, volunteers are always great. I've never turned down volunteers, but we have our Coastal Marine Club run by Coach Brown, like 20 to 30 solid students to help out. So.
Great. Okay, other questions?
Chris, you said that you had reached your fundraising goal in the Ostraca McCormick House. How much money did you raise, and how did alcohol come in?
Good question. The exact dollar amount I don't have off the top of my head. We had the $50,000 raised by individuals with the $50,000 match. But one of the other things that we got during this time was a very significant gift, and the donors asked to us that we don't publicize the exact amount of that gift. But he's from the beaches, he's a Fletcher guy, his name is Tom Lenoble, and he made a very sizable gift not only to the Ostrager House, but also to start an endowment for the historic preservation of not only that cabin, but all of our buildings, which is something that we really need. It's not an inexpensive proposition to think about putting a new roof on a building like this, or these other buildings from the 1900s. So all told, counting all of those numbers, I don't have an exact figure for you, but we did reach our goal, and then we exceeded it in the fact that we had that significant contribution as well as the endowment that we've started. So it's a great achievement for this museum, something that we should have done a long time ago, and it just really works out that it came about through this campaign. And I also want to recognize Councilman Gulliford, who also made a contribution to us as a result of his successful election campaign, so thank you. And anyone else who donated. We had a very generous group of folks. We just did this chapel campaign in 2012, so it wasn't that long ago that we kind of hit the community up for donations, so we weren't sure how it was going to go, but this cabin in particular has a lot of fond memories for beaches folks. So there's hundreds of people that have been out there for hunting trips and cookouts and things like that over the decades. So it's been a really great experience.
Do you work with the other cultural groups on the beach, and also how big is your staff?
Absolutely, great question, thank you. So we have 2 full-time staff members, including myself, and then 3 part-time staff members. So we are a very, very small staff. We are a very volunteer-driven organization, and we definitely do work. I've been here for 8 months, but one of my themes and things I'm really trying to do is work on relationships and partnerships. And we're actually taking our board on Tuesday to the Rhoda Martin Cultural Heritage Center for a tour They've just kind of reopened back up to doing tours, so we're going to take our group over there and then hopefully reciprocate with them. But a lot of the other groups, Players by the Sea, ABET, Beaches, Fine Arts Series, they all also received the grant through the Cultural Council, so we're kind of constantly in meetings and doing things together, so it's been a great opportunity to network with them as well. Joe Schwartz from Players by the Sea came over and played the conductor for us when we did the Polar Express, so I thought that was a wonderful partnership. Is this for
The
me?
young lady asked about whether there were people here that identified the results of DORA. Let me tell you something, young lady. This is relative to the house that's about to be moved. I went to school with Angela Osterreicher right over here at St. Paul's Elementary many, many years ago. And of course, Angela's one of the Osterreichers and is still living in the area. And I ran into her for the first time probably in 40 years at an event recently. But it was a whole different, it's commendable what they've done with the historic preservation, and it was an entirely different type of community back then, very remote, very quiet, and not so sure it wasn't better.
And all those, I mean, if it gives you any sense of the community, all the kids in Palm Valley went to school at Fletcher.
Yeah.
So, I mean, think about how far that is, and you did not have A1A, up until the 20s, so they drove on the beach to get to school, which sounds like a lot of fun, but I think it'd be a hassle timing the tides. And,
Yeah. And at that time,
You're in such bad shape.
exactly.
at that time, First Street was a 2-lane road.
Right.
I have a question for the Fletcher students. How many years of data do you guys have, and what is it actually showing? What are the trends that we're seeing?
We actually just started taking data over the last, is it this year? He's been taking students and we've been working at the dunes and, monitoring them, but we haven't really taken any solid data as far as quadrants and actual numbers go. This year is the first year that we've done that. We did that earlier this year, November, I want to say. We took the quadrants and marked out those different blocks. So that's really where all of our data is coming from this year, and that's why we're starting this restoration project that we're trying to get going.
But last year, we were all in the marine science class, and he would constantly take us trips to the beach, which is really awesome because we would just be able to walk there. We wouldn't have to take a bus or anything. And he would take us to the beach, and we would analyze the dunes and do projects on that. And he would also take us to estuaries, and it was really awesome trying to learn that stuff.
So is this all the data we have in this area? I mean, are you guys just building it from scratch and this is going to be it? You're starting something that, 10, 15, 20 years down the road, we'll build that? I mean, does anybody know? Do we have anything else?
As far as I know, this is the only data that we have on the dunes as far as low and high density areas. So we're trying to get the initiative started.
Me? Yeah. Do you as a class look at the dune projects, restoration projects along the East Coast going north? Have you compared what they're doing and looked at why you want to do oats instead of other things? Or?
Well, one thing that we look at a lot in class is we compare our dune system to dune systems in North Carolina, where they don't have a dune system per se, and that's why a lot of their coastal property is getting
gone. Yeah.
destroyed.
Yeah.
So that's why he kind of ties that back into why this is so important in helping our dunes and preserving
But like
them.
farther north, like what happened with Hurricane Sandy, did you study the dunes?
We didn't necessarily study them, no. He mentioned things like that, and how the dunes help in being a breakwater at that point, stopping so much water from rushing in. But as far as studying it and getting in depth with it, we didn't really get in depth.
So you didn't consider even the Christmas tree project?
No.
No. That's where you have people bring their old Christmas trees and you put them on the dunes and then the sand stays instead of using sea oats, for
They used
instance.
to do that with cars on the beach.
Yeah, cars, trucks. But Christmas trees has been a big one, a good one that's worked.
You mentioned about volunteers, and you said you have 20, 30 students. I know that you're graduating next year. And those 20, 30 students are going to be gone. Coach Brown may or not be coaching, may not be teaching. You need volunteers. This is a meaningful thing, I think, that's good for the community. So maybe you need to relay to Coach Brown, and maybe he needs to look to other avenues besides kids.
Well, yeah, absolutely. But we're not all just seniors. If you remember the picture that we showed, there's a lot of juniors that are involved in the upcoming ACE students that will be in the classes with them for the upcoming years. You know, whether he's there or not, there'll be volunteers, and as this grows hopefully into a bigger, well-known issue and initiative, then hopefully the volunteers will grow and we'll need more people to come out and help.
And if people do want to come volunteer, you could actually email Coach Brown at brownk2@newfallschools.org. That's the number 2, by the way. And I mean, we're going to constantly do these projects, and yes, once we graduate, we're going to have new students who will join the club and help do all these projects, but it is always helpful to have these volunteers.
Yes.
You should all just go to UNF, that way you can, create those linkages UNF and Fletcher.
Yeah, why leave?
Go
Yeah.
Some of us might be going there. A few of my classmates are.
There are a couple that I know are going there, and hopefully doing marine science.
Any other questions?
Anyone? Giller?
Well, we want to thank you all for coming tonight. The students did a great job. Curtis, thank you for everything you did with Deck the Chairs. We're looking forward to the 2015 Deck the Chairs. And Chris, thank you for everything you're doing with the Beaches Museum and History Park and allowing us to be here tonight. Just a reminder, we will not have a meeting in April because we'll have the member social on Wednesday, April 1st. Like I said, just keep in mind, I will be sending out something that will have information about the location. And one other thing, if you're not a member of Beaches Watch and you would like to be a member, we have membership forms at the table at the back of the chapel. And I wanted to say the back of the community room. It's still at the library for some reason. The memberships are $10 for individuals and $15 for families. And we appreciate your support because it helps us continue to do some of the things that we're doing in the community. And I will say this, we have, I haven't sent this out yet, but we have finalized a date for the mayor and sheriff candidates forum. It is going to be Thursday, April 16th at Fletcher High School in the auditorium. We are working on a date for the at-large candidates forum and a location for that as well. But go ahead and put that on your calendar. We hope you'll plan to help us spread the word because that should be a really good forum. Again, Thursday, April 16th, 7 o'clock and it'll be at the auditorium. So be sure to check our website for the candidate responses to our Q&A. And we hope to see you April 1st at the member social, wherever that is going to end up being. And we thank you all for coming tonight and hope you have a great evening. Thank you.